And as it was in the days of Noah, so it will be also in the days of the Son of Man. They ate, they drank, they married wives, they were given in marriage, until the day that Noah entered the ark, and the flood came and destroyed them all. Likewise, as it was also in the days of Lot. They ate, they drank, they bought, they sold, they planted, they built. But on the day that Lot went out of Sodom, it rained fire and brimstone from heaven and destroyed them all. Even so will it be in the day when the Son of Man is revealed. A few days ago, I listened to a video of Jordan Peterson speaking on the subject of Sodom and Gomorrah. While listening, it provoked a lot of thought, and I remembered that Jesus spoke of the days of Lot within the same context as the days of Noah. To say the least, the story of Sodom and Gomorrah is a bit unusual, and when you consider the details, almost too unusual to believe. Yet, the Lord saw fit to bring the days of Lot into his discourse regarding the revealing of the Son of Man. When someone mentions Sodom and Gomorrah, the first thing to arise in most people's minds is the element of homosexuality. Yet, when Jesus spoke of it in Luke, he never mentions this. Of course, this does not negate the fact that sexual perversion wasn't a part of this story. However, I believe it goes deeper. Let's begin with the following. And Lot lifted up his eyes and saw that the Jordan Valley was well watered everywhere, like the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt, in the direction of Zoar. This was before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. So Lot chose for himself all the Jordan Valley, and Lot journeyed east. Thus they separated from each other. Abram settled in the land of Canaan, while Lot settled among the cities of the valley and moved his tent as far as Sodom. Now look at what follows in the next verse. Now the men of Sodom were wicked, great sinners against the Lord. Following this information in Genesis 13, several significant things take place regarding Abram until we arrive at Genesis 18. There, the Lord visits Abraham and tells him his wife Sarah will have a child. It is after this that the Lord speaks with Abraham about Sodom and Gomorrah, and Abraham contends with the Lord about sparing the cities if but 10 righteous can be found in the city of Sodom. This is the first indication that the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah was not about homosexuality, but about the evident lack of righteousness in general. The next chapter begins the story of the destruction of the cities, where 2 angels come to Sodom in the evening, and Lot is sitting in the gate of Sodom. When Lot sees them, he asks them to spend the night so they can rise up early the next day and go on their way. The 2 angels attempt to decline, but Lot talks them into staying in his home. Here's what we read. But he pressed them strongly, so they turned aside to him and entered his house. And he made them a feast and baked unleavened bread, and they ate. But before they lay down, the men of the city, the men of Sodom, both young and old, all the people to the last man, surrounded the house. Note what I have bolded, which I believe introduces the most profound part of this story. Let's continue. And they called to Lot, "Where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us, that we may know them." Lot went out to the men at the entrance, shut the door after him, and said, "I beg you, my brothers, do not act so wickedly. Behold, I have 2 daughters who have not known any man. Let me bring them out to you, and do to them as you please. Only do nothing to these men, for they have come under the shelter of my roof." But they said, "Stand back." And they said, "This fellow came to sojourn, and he has become the judge. Now we will deal worse with you than with them." Then they pressed hard against the man Lot, and drew near to break the door down. But the men reached out their hands and brought Lot into the house with them, and shut the door. And they struck with blindness the men who were at the entrance of the house, both small and great, so that they wore themselves out groping for the door. Remember, in Luke 17, Jesus connected the days of Lot with the days of Noah. So consider what we read in the following about the days of Noah. The Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every intention of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. Now the earth was corrupt in God's sight, and the earth was filled with violence. And God saw the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted their way on the earth. Why did God destroy Sodom and Gomorrah? Was it due to homosexuality? No. Was it due to unrighteousness? Yes, but not completely. Friend, homosexuality is a symptom of extreme carnality, so too unrighteousness in any form. But when we bring the story of Sodom and Gomorrah together with the days of Noah, we find that the crux of the problem is the fact that they were filled with violence. Think about it. There's a big difference between someone wanting to do something unrighteous or sinful, as opposed to forcing it on others. As many know from experience, unrighteousness is a problem in and of itself, but when mixed with violence, where attempts are made to force others to accept or participate, the problem becomes much more difficult to deal with. In keeping with what we are considering, note what Paul told Timothy. But understand this, that in the last days there will come times of difficulty, for people will be lovers of self, lovers of money, proud, arrogant, abusive, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, unholy, heartless, unappeasable, slanderous, without self-control, brutal, not loving good, treacherous, reckless, swollen with conceit. Lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, having the appearance of godliness, but denying its power. Avoid such people. In other studies, I point out that denying the power of godliness is explained by the following. For the message of the cross is foolishness to those who are perishing, but to us who are being saved, it is the power of God. What is the power of God? The message of the cross. And what is the message of the cross if not the message of self-denial? And what leads the list for our times of difficulty? Lovers of self. Do you see why the problem with Sodom and Gomorrah went beyond sexual perversion and unrighteousness? Understand, there has always been unrighteousness in every form, but when society reaches a place where we are forced to choose between the lesser of two evils, only extreme judgment can follow. As mentioned earlier, the story of Sodom and Gomorrah is a bit unusual. How did Lot respond to the demands of those who surrounded his home? Behold, I have 2 daughters who have not known any man. Let me bring them out to you, and do to them as you please. Only do nothing to these men, for they have come under the shelter of my roof. Excuse me, but did Lot just offer his 2 daughters to these men to be raped in place of the 2 angels? At this point, did Lot know they were angels sent by the Lord? I don't know about you, but I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around this. At this point, I will close this study, but be sure to join me for part 2 of this message on the days of Lot. May God bless you in your walk with Christ.